No more gathering of tears, no more hopeless empty fears. Never again, never again, never again.
Heroes come in many shapes and forms, and from many different means. Some heroes are born that way, some stumble into heroism, and some heroes rise to the occasion where others fear to tread. Then there are other heroes who are forged from the hottest of fires. They come from places so overwhelming with trial and tribulation, from such pain and ache, it staggers the imagination how they find the means to keep going, to keep fighting, to have the courage to stare down the fiercest of the fierce. And out of that blazing fire comes wisdom, a stronger sense of self, and a desire for personal growth. This is the chronic pain hero's journey. Now, to take us on this path today is the totally amazing, completely unsinkable, ever unstoppable Jennifer Hughes. A woman, yes, absolutely, yes indeed, a woman in pain who has fought tooth and nail through some pretty dark places to show us a place where heroes dare to thrive. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from North Carolina, by way of La Canada, Jennifer Hughes. Yeah, give her a big hand. Big hand.
I am more than honored and privileged to be here. Just a little side story. I actually attended the very first Women in Pain conference in 2008, and it's when I met Cynthia and Mindy and a few others. And unfortunately, due to my illness, I was not able to return until now. So it has definitely been a journey. And so hence, I am here with you today to share this process, and hopefully my nerves will calm down and you guys will laugh with me and help me relax. So, and I may have to let vanity go and put on the readers, but such as that. Oh, it's actually much better this way. Anyways, and how do I work this? Push this right one? Okay. So anyways. Just as a little side note as well, I was given this card by a friend of mine, oh my God, 10 years ago. And it stuck with me. I keep it in a journal, and I have maybe 20,000 journals that I keep cards and notes and clippings and you name it. I hear a quote, I write it down. I see something, I cut it out, I put it in the book. And so it stuck with me because it says, she was scared silly, but she kept buying tickets. And I just loved it, meaning it's, whatever it is in life that you face, it might scare you to death, but you just keep doing it. So that brings us to this point. Do you remember how you felt the very first time you learned how to swim? How about the very first time you jumped off the high dive? Your very first day of school. That was one of my all-time favorites. I was always the very nerdy kid waiting at the bus stop with the lunchbox and backpack and the really bad haircut. The page boy, you remember that one? The very first time you rode a two-wheel bike. First time you drove a car. Remember that, Dad? Smoke was coming out the back. How about the time, your first job interview? Or your very first date? Your very first kiss? Oops. Pretend you didn't see that. How about the very first time you learned you were going to live with chronic pain? Do you remember how you felt at the beginning of all these firsts? Frightened, scared as hell comes to my mind. Hesitant, excited, anxious, fearful of making a choice to leave behind the comfort and safety of the known, to confront the dubious adventure of the unknown. And then I have these little notes in my binder. Breathe, it's okay. You're doing great, smile. And they keep progressing onward. Anyways, I digress. When we find ourselves at a crossroads of any kind, we are forced to make a choice as to which direction to go. We are bombarded by questions like, will I sink or will I swim? Should I stay or should I go now? Will this be a good experience or will this be a horrifically awful one? Am I strong enough to do this? Will it hurt or not? And so on. Transition, breathe, you got this. Okay? Life is about making choices. And sometimes more than most, it's about making scary choices. Each time we are called to new horizons, there is always the same scary choice. I cannot get used to that. Staring us in the face. Do I dare? And if you do dare, more likely than not, the dangers will abound. But the guidance will be there too. The fulfillment or the fiasco, the agony or the ecstasy. As Joseph Campbell says, with each choice we make, there will always be the possibility of a fiasco. But there's also the possibility of bliss, your bliss. So the question I ask you is, do you dare? Pause, breathe, smile. You are on candid camera. So, today we are going to take a journey together, you and me, over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, and give ourselves the gentle space and safety to examine the process and the transformative power of the chronic pain hero's journey. What it is and how it can be used as a roadmap to help us cope, accept, and live life with chronic pain. I was first introduced to this concept of the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell several times over the course of my early adult life, but for some reason, it was just a mere introduction. At this time, I did not choose to dive deep into the understanding of this unique philosophy, nor did I see how invaluable and truly life-altering this concept would be to me personally, until several years later. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I have to take a deep breath. I was 44 years old, and in the most intense...
Kleenex, can someone hand us some Kleenex, please? Thank you.
I practiced this a zillion times.
Kleenex.
So anyways,
It's hard.
I was 44 years old, and in the most intense and debilitating physical pain I have ever experienced during my 13 years of battling an autoimmune disease, which is a lupus-like mixed connective tissue disease, chronic regional pain syndrome, fibromyalgia, interstitial cystitis, Raynaud's, and an assortment of other symptoms and syndromes that seem to go hand in hand with these types of chronic pain and autoimmune conditions. Breathe, pause, look up. Sounds like fun, right? Like most of us women and men with chronic pain, I was and still am a typical type A personality. I was a go-go-getter. I was successful and active in all aspects of my life, career, relationships, etc., you name it. I did it well. My life was at an ultimate high. I was surrounded by success and promise in every aspect of my life. I was a newlywed. I sold my internet startup company to an even bigger company in San Francisco, and I had achieved more business success than most do in a lifetime, all before I turned 30. I was extremely physically fit and active. I was an avid runner. I was a yogi and a cyclist. I'm not following my own direction. I need to breathe, right? Okay. I was blessed with many wonderful friends and good times, full of weekend backyard barbecues, trips to the beach, and those silly fun times where giggles turn to tears and your cheeks hurt from laughing so hard. I felt alive. I felt loved. I was living life. And then it all came crashing down. Minor fatigue turned to severe exhaustion. I passed out in my home office, the final blow. I lost my ability to work. I lost my marriage. I lost my friends. I lost good times. I lost laughter. I lost me. I lost it all. The only thing I had now was chronic pain, chronic illness, and chronic agony. I found myself by no plan of my own, but that of my rapidly debilitating illness, stuck on the East Coast, unable to return to my home in California for close to 4 years. I was away from my friends and my family. I missed birthday parties, anniversary celebrations, the birth of new little ones, many Thanksgiving gatherings and Christmases. I missed the celebration of the everyday things that you share with your best friend over a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. My mom was my only saving grace, and she stayed with me through the torture of it all. She is fantastic and my best friend. And so is my dad. And he held the fort down in California, and we thank him for that. I was wrapped head to toe in ace bandages and ice packs. It hurt to have anything firm touch my skin. The only comfortable position for me, and I use that term comfortable loosely, was a Princess and the Pea-like setup on the couch with countless pillows, blankets, under me, beside me, etc. I had to keep my arms elevated above my heart because the swelling and throbbing was so intense. It felt as if my fingers and hands would just jettison off into the universe at any given moment. It hurt to shower. It hurt to walk to the bathroom. It hurt even if a breeze came across my skin. I was miserable. I was more than miserable. I was stunned. I was shocked. I was devastated. There was no end or relief in sight. I was in living hell. I was on a heavy-duty pain relief elixir of fentanyl patches, liquid morphine, tramadol, and Norco, but my pain still raged. This cocktail helped me greatly in the early stages of this more than acute pain episode. Then it began to wane and became less effective. Now this is important. I want you all to listen to this. This medication was much needed, and there was truly no way for me to get through that period without it. I may or may not need this kind of treatment in the future, and this was all prescribed by my doctor and taken only as directed. And all of my other doctors and specialists were aware of my pain treatment regimen. And I also wanted to bring up the fact that it is an unfortunate reality that many of us with these chronic illnesses, we have to have multiple doctors and multiple specialists because our illnesses affect different and various parts of our body. For example, for bladder issues, I need a urologist. For skin issues, I need a dermatologist. For the nerve issues, I need a neurologist, and so on. You get the point. There is really no one doctor that does it all. So anyways, back to where I was. Like I was saying, all of this did help me greatly in the beginning. But then I actually started experiencing an even greater intensity and severity of pain. It felt as if I had jagged shards of glass under every inch of my skin. It was at this point that I had nothing else to lose and everything to gain. My rheumatologist at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland, and may I add that he is truly the most gifted and compassionate doctor I have ever had. He is truly extraordinary. He had suggested time and time again for me to consider entering the pain management program there, but I was hesitant. Now, this was a 3-month intense inpatient program that would involve taking me off all of my pain medication and all of my autoimmune medication. And as a result, I would endure torturous withdrawal symptoms that would render me to my knees and could last up to 2 years. And all of this was to just see if this would have some sort of reset button on my pain. Ugh. I was scared out of my mind to go into the hospital. Over the past 13 years, I had endured excruciating therapies at any attempt to get better, to get the lost me back. Pause, look up, smile again. Just take a breath, you are almost there. I have had a portacath surgically implanted in a main artery for bone-curdling IVIG infusions that lasted up to 28 hours at a time. I've had catheters in my stomach, down my nose, countless MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, endoscopies, colonoscopies, skin biopsies, and injections. I've been poked, I've been prodded and scraped. I've been looked up and down, inside and out, and I've been affirmed, been discredited, I've been yelled at. I've been told it was all in my head and reaffirmed, you name it. And by all those very same doctors who I went to for help. Every doctor visit was an extreme effort and ordeal. I felt as though I was preparing for trial with each and every doctor's appointment. And every single time, I was the defendant. I was at the lowest of my lows. I had entered the deep, dark forest. I feared I was too sick and too worn out to even attempt to get better. I was depleted in every sense of the word. I was an utter mess. But what were my options? Look up, and I have something called a Scooby snack, which I give to my dogs, little treats. Unfortunately, I left my M&Ms on the table. Anyways, so we'll just breathe. Maybe we'll take a sip of water. And this is all going to be on the internet for the rest of my life, along with my face the cookie. Anyways, what were the chances that I was going to encounter an out of the blue and sudden healing in my current condition? Most likely 0. I became all too familiar with the predicament of being in constant agony. I found myself faced with the same question over and over again. How was I ever going to cope, accept, and survive this torment? Will I give up and cower in a corner, content to live my life in a state of never-ending fear and panic? Or will I be braver than I ever thought possible and stare down my demons with a voracious fierceness so that I may show them that I will not be defeated? And yes, that was the question of the day. Well, the time came, and I had to make a choice. And that choice for me was one scary one, at that, no doubt. They say that you get the adventure that you are ready for. So I bellied up to the bar, so to speak, and I chose to leap headfirst into the deep abyss of the unknown. I chose to go into the pain management program at Johns Hopkins. The entire ordeal was utterly grueling. The withdrawal off the various and numerous medications was fantastically horrendous. I was in the constant throes of unrelenting body tremors and shakes. I endured stomach cramps that felt as if I was attempting to digest broken glass and spikes of sharp, rusty steel. I threw up. I was sleep deprived beyond belief. I was schwitzing like no other. And of course, I was in brutal, agonizing, bone-busting pain. It was simply the horror of all horrors for me. Then came an unexpected lifeline, a glimmer of hope. It was another end to another long and hellacious day, experiencing all the previous fun I have just mentioned, and I had one last group to attend before I could retire to yet another agonizing, fidgety-widgety, no rest for the weary night. This group was by far my favorite because it was run by this fantastically amazing nurse, Matt. And all of us chronic pain patients just adored him for his never-ending compassion and his I've got your back and you can do this kind of bedside manner. He understood with deep concern what we were going through. He got us, and he helped us more than he will ever know. And as I would soon come to understand, he was about to be one of my mentor guides along my own hero's journey. So we huddled into the room with our vast array of countless pillows, heating pads, ice packets, blankets, and IVs, all dripping off of us like we were some sort of twisted, misfit, rickety-rackety Christmas or Charlie Brown Christmas trees. You get the picture? Not pretty. We were all more than exhausted. We were beat up and worn down to our nubs. Then Matt started to talk to us about this guy, Joseph Campbell, and this thing called the hero's journey. As I mentioned earlier, I had been introduced to the hero's journey concept many moons before, but this time it was different. He began to explain that this guy, Joseph Campbell, was an American author, researcher, teacher, lecturer, and scholar in the field of comparative mythology. Joseph Campbell spent his life vigorously devoted to studying the myths, legends, and stories of all different cultures all over the world and throughout the history of time. It was through his passionate and intense research that he found that all of these various legends, myths, and stories, from the earliest cave paintings to the pyramids, Stonehenge, and beyond, were all similar and not different. They are all basically the same story retold over and over again in infinite variations, but all with the same type of narrative structure. And he called this the hero myth, or the monomyth. The thing I find interesting was that these stories built on the model of the hero myth, they have an appeal that can be felt by all of us, because these stories reflect the universal concerns of humanity throughout time. They deal with the universal questions like, who am I? Where did I come from? Where will I go when I die? What is good and what is evil? What should I do about it? Is there anybody else out there? And so on. So Matt told us too that this hero myth structure can be used to understand any human problem. In addition, the hero's journey narrative can be seen throughout the development and understanding of modern psychology, as well as a chosen tool now used throughout the creative arts, such as film, drama, music, and literature. This is why when you watch a film or read a book and you find yourself drawn to a certain character or scene, they seem to resonate deep within inside you, and you find yourself moved to tears, moved to laughter, moved to whatever it is. It's because you see a part of you in that character. In essence, the connection that is deeply felt by you is because you are or were or want to be on that very same journey that your favorite character is experiencing. So what this really all boils down to is that all of us, each and every one of us, are more or less taking the same journey. We are all on the journey of self-discovery. The more Matt talked, the more I understood. His words enveloped me. I found myself riveted. I was hooked. After this group was over, I went back to my room, and I could not stop thinking about all of what I had just learned. I felt as if I was in the midst of a blinding light, and it was not the drugs. This was truly my conversion on the road of Damascus moment, and this is finally a good use of my art history studies. I was flung off my proverbial horse like the Apostle Paul when Jesus appeared to him and shook him up good he did. It was one of those aha moments for me. I was blown away. And that night, I wrote this email note to Cynthia telling her of my recent and life-altering initiation in the concept of the hero's journey. So here's a snippet from that same email. The other day, we were talking about the hero's journey, and that most everyone is called to this journey at one time or another in their life, but it is only a rare few that actually accept this exceptional invitation. Overwhelming hesitation and immense amount of fear is usually the first and normal response that comes along with facing the unknown. These heroes in our myths are from our ordinary world and usually have something taken from them or feel as if there is something lacking in their life when they receive the call to adventure. At first, they refuse the call by saying, hey, I'm just an everyday, ordinary person. There's nothing special or exceptional about me. And by the way, I'm completely okay right where I am. In essence, don't bother me. They ask, why are you choosing me for this great task? Do you understand that you are asking me to lead a charge of intense courage and hardship so that I may fight for the grace and peace of the common good? Are you crazy? Am I crazy for even contemplating this? Then, with an immense internal struggle and an abundance of fear, the hero accepts the calling. This hero then meets a mentor who inspires and supports and aids the hero on their journey. And may I add, you can meet multiple mentors and heroes or aids on your journey. So anyways, along this trek, the hero has to cross a threshold of intense unknowing and has to endure an incredible, life-altering and transformative and death-defying battles with all kinds of enemies whose only goal is to block and defeat any and all success of the hero. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The hero must encounter a death of one's prior self in order to experience a rebirth of their new and true self. This sacrificial passage involves a grueling adventure of intense hardship, pain, struggle, self-doubt, you name it, it happens and more. And in that very last inch and in that final hour, the hero with great fury struggles between the choice to either hold on to who they were, the familiar yet not fully true, or to let go and embrace their awakening into a totally new and different soul. It is at this cathartic moment that the hero now understands why they were chosen for this unique and spectacular odyssey, and now accepts their new self as their new normal. With the acceptance of their rebirth, it is now time for the hero and the victor to leave the battle and return to their previous world, the real world from where they came. This last stage becomes the most awe-inspiring transition of them all. Sorry, I have to take a drink of water. I should have brought some cookies up here. Once the hero has crossed the final chasm, they encounter a resurrection into a more sincere and life-aware existence, where the hero is now free to follow all of their passions, knowing now that their long and arduous journey was well worth all costs and all risks. Purpose and trust of self now become their foundation from which they will never falter. Pause, smile, break, margarita soon. That's, I think, the best one yet. In the email, I continue to say, I haven't stopped thinking about this and how all of us women in pain are heroes who have been called to partake in this most exceptional pilgrimage. We are asked to defy all gods, battle the monsters under our bed, persevere under tortuous conditions, and fight the good fight. We do all of this so that we may say goodbye to the gripping stagnation of our old selves and go deep and bold into the new and righteous power of self-acceptance. And with this last step, we are now complete, and our ordinary life is now more than extraordinary. So remember each and every day to let go in order to hold on tight to your own truth. For you, sweet Cynthia, my wondrous friend, are a true hero to us all. Where's that margarita? Giggles, guts, and courage, Jennifer. It was at that moment that the immensity of it all hit me. As I sat with all this fabulous new insight, I suddenly and strangely began to feel a sense of purpose and peace come over me. I began to see how my life experience with this horrific medical condition was truly a hero's journey, my hero's journey. It was now clear to me that I was not a victim of circumstance or happenstance. I was chosen in some respects, but I had to accept the challenge. The smell of victory was beginning to float in the air. I was completely beat and exhausted, but I was not defeated. I felt a new sense of power and control come over me, one that would hold firm even in the midst of life's constant chaos. Finally, for the first time, I began to believe in the power of me. I realized that a hero is not just about being brave by saving burning babies, by saving children from a burning building. That might be interesting. Nor is it about putting someone on a pedestal just because they have some illness, hardship, or struggle. Albeit these types of circumstances do have the ability to transform someone, but that person, they have to make the choice to do so. We become a hero when we have the courage to lean into our fear and get in touch with our true self. Our individual hero's journey is truly about gently opening up to your own awareness of how you want to live your life so that you feel fulfilled with passionate purpose. The chronic pain hero's journey is a tender and essential process that requires patience and honest self-reflection. The chronic pain hero's journey requires an abundance of giggles, guts, and courage. Scooby snacks. This unique hero's journey is the journey of self-exploration for you and you alone. It is about being aware and conscious as to what your life is calling you to do and who to be, true to your core. I do not know what the future holds for me, nor do I know the specifics about all the good and bad things that will surely come my way. But I can now rest a bit in the reality that everything is temporary, and the only permanent thing in life is that it will all be different. I learned that it is better to fight by letting go sometimes instead of holding firm. I discovered that it's okay to be afraid, but to not let the fear of the unknown or the possibility of the fiasco disrupt the pursuit of my bliss. Now, this was an important revelation to me. Should I choose not to accept the call to adventure, not only do I lose, but so does everyone around me, therefore creating a ripple-like effect. May we all recognize the absence of even just one person from our lives and community due to chronic pain and illness as a great loss to our collective talents, contributions, and aspirations of hope, health, and greatness. Now is the time when heroism is desperately needed. Like the heroes of ancient legends, we all aid in restoring life, health, and productivity to our community as a result of taking our own journeys, finding our own destinies, and sharing our own unique gifts with others. To quote Carol S. Pearson, another extraordinary scholar of the hero's journey, "It is as if the world were a giant puzzle, and each of us who takes a journey returns with one piece, and collectively we contribute our part. The kingdom is transformed. The transformation of the kingdom, our community, depends upon all of us. Understanding this helps us move beyond a competitive stance and into a concern with empowering ourselves and others. If some people lose and do not make their contribution, we all lose. If we lack the courage to take our own journeys, we create a void where our piece of the puzzle could have been, to the collective as well as to our own personal detriment." Getting closer. Now, this is a long one. So now in closing, I'd like to share with you a poem by Joseph Campbell. And you guys actually have a copy of this. You can follow along if you'd like. And I also left you a copy of a diagram of the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, inner journey, and then just the structure of the journey in it itself. So anyways, fasten your seatbelts. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. What you have to do, you do with play. Life is without meaning. You bring meaning to it. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. Being alive is the meaning. The warrior's approach is to say yes to life and yea to it all. Participate joyfully in the sorrows of the world. We cannot cure the world of the sorrows, but we can choose to live in joy. When we talk about settling the world's problems, we're barking up the wrong tree. The world is perfect. It's a mess. It has always been a mess. We are not going to change it. Our job is to straighten ourselves out. We must be willing to get rid of the life we plan so as to have the life that is waiting for us. The old skin has to be shed before the new one can come. If we fix on the old, we get stuck. And when we hang on to any form, we are in danger of putrefaction. Hell is life drying up. The hoarder, the one in us that wants to to hold on, must be killed. If we are hanging on to the form now, we're not going to have the form next. You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. Destruction before creation. Out of perfection, nothing can be made. Every process involves breaking something up. The earth must be broken to bring forth life. If the seed does not die, there is no plant. Bread results from the death of wheat. Life lives on lives. Our own life lives on acts of other people. If you are life worthy, you can take it. What we are really living for is the experience of life, both the pain and the pleasure. The world is a match for us. We are a match for the world. Opportunities to find deeper powers within ourselves come when life seems most challenging. Negativism is the pain and ferocity of life, is the negativism to life. We are not there until we can say yay to it all. To take a righteous attitude toward anything is to denigrate it. Awe is what moves us forward. As you proceed through life, following your own path, this is a good one, birds will shit on you. Don't bother to brush it off. And here's another one of my favorites. Getting a comedic view of your situation gives you spiritual distance, and having a sense of humor saves you. Eternity is a dimension of here and now. The divine lives within you. Live from your own center. Your real duty is to go away from the community to find your bliss. The society is the enemy when it imposes its structures on the individual. On the dragon, there are many scales, and every one of them says, "Thou shalt." Kill the dragon, thou shalt. When one has killed that dragon, one has become the child. Breaking out is following your bliss pattern. Quitting the old place, starting your hero journey, following your bliss. You throw off yesterday as the snake sheds its skin. Follow your bliss. The heroic life is living the individual adventure. There is no security at all in following the call to adventure. Nothing is exciting if you know what the outcome is going to be. To refuse the call means stagnation. What you don't experience positively, you will experience negatively. Uh-oh, I have 3 minutes. We're almost there. You enter the dark forest at the darkest point where there is no path. Where there is a way or path, it is someone else's path. You are not on your own path. If you follow someone else's way, you are not going to realize your potential. The goal of the hero trip down to the jewel point is to find those levels in the psyche that open and finally open to the mystery of your self-being, Buddha Christ or the Christ. Buddha consciousness or the Christ, that's the journey. It's all about finding that still point in your mind where commitment drops away. It is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. And this is my favorite part. The very cave you were afraid to enter turns out to be the source of what you were looking for. That the damned thing in the cave that was so dreaded becomes the center. You find the jewel and it draws you off. In loving the spiritual, you cannot despise the earthly. The purpose of the journey is compassion. When you have come past the pairs of opposites, you have reached compassion. The goal is to bring the jewel back to the world to join the two things together. The separateness apparent in the world is secondary. Beyond that world of opposites is an unseen but experienced unity and identity in us all. Today, the planet is the only proper in-group. You must return with the bliss and integrate it. The return is seeing the radiance everywhere. This is I love this one. We're almost there. Look at this. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Do not seek illumination unless you seek it as a man whose hair is on fire seeks a pond." If you want the whole thing, the gods will give it to you, but you must be ready for it. The goal is to live with godlike composure on the full rush of energy like Dionysus riding the leopard without being torn to pieces. A bit of advice given to a young Native American at the time of his initiation. As you go the way of life, you will see a great chasm. Jump. It is not as wide as you think. So I end with just one last note. Do you dare? Thank you.